Ramadan can be a particularly difficult time for athletes because they're trying to train and perform at their best during competitions while also being fasted for long periods of time throughout the day. So in this video, we're going to be looking at nutritional and hydration strategies to help you during this holy month. Hi there, my name is Tim DeLeo. Welcome to my channel, Sport Nutrition Academy. I'm a licensed sports dietitian. I've been working as a dietitian now for over 10 years with high-level collegiate and professional athletes, ultimately helping them to perform and transform their bodies with food and nutrition. Ramadan is considered the holiest month for Muslims, and it comes with a period of fasting throughout the day. So many athletes, they have their pre-dawn meal. They'll fast from sunrise until sunset, where then they can break their fast and eat another meal. So as you can imagine, this poses many particular challenges in terms of fueling and hydrating for athletes who are, in season in competition or have to train, during those hours where they're fasting. So lots of negative effects potentially on the athlete's body. But if you follow the nutritional strategies that I recommend in this video, we can help to offset some of those negative side effects of the long periods of fasting. So tip number one has to do with the protein that you're going to be intaking at the pre-dawn meal. So for most athletes, if we're eating about 0.8 times your body weight in terms of protein per day, that's going to be enough to maintain muscle mass over the course of a month. So for example, if I have a 160-pound athlete, multiply that by 0.8, it's going to give me roughly 130 grams of protein that person needs to be eating per day. So at that first pre-dawn meal, we want to try to get at least 1/3 of that protein total in at that meal. So in this particular example, 130, about 1/3 of that is going to be about 40 grams of protein. So if this athlete's able to get about 40 grams of protein at that pre-dawn meal, that's really going to set you up for success in terms of making sure that you're staying full for long periods of time into that fast. And we're also helping to prevent muscle breakdown. And then if you happen to be training shortly after that meal, that's going to have a little bit of extra, amino acids and protein in the bloodstream to help with the recovery from that workout. So really important to get that amount of protein at that pre-dawn meal. Some examples of some high quality proteins that we can include at that meal would be things like eggs, chicken, beef or ground beef, Greek yogurt, even things like protein powders or protein bars. Those are all going to be great high protein options that are going to be a little bit slow digesting to make sure that we're staying full several hours into the fast. And then that athlete's going to work to get the rest of their protein, so that 80 grams after sunset in the remaining meals before they go to bed for the night. So by the end of the day, we've hit our protein total. That's really going to help preserve that muscle mass and ensure that we're not losing muscle and not decreasing performance and strength over the course of the month of Ramadan. The next thing that we're going to focus on is hydration. So at that pre-dawn meal, it is really important to make sure that we're getting adequate fluid, because if we're not well hydrated as we go into the fast, that thirst stimulus is going to kick in and you're going to be really thirsty and pretty miserable throughout the course of the day without being able to actually drink anything. You also might hear recommendations to use high electrolyte or high sodium drinks or mixes, such as liquid IV, drip drop, Pedialyte, things like that to help with hydration. But those are actually one of the worst things that you can consume at the pre-dawn meal because of that high salt content. The high salt content is going to actually make you a lot more thirsty, especially once you stop drinking fluid. So again, you're going to be pretty miserable, feeling thirsty all the time and then not being able to drink anything. So you definitely want to avoid those high salty mixes and electrolyte powders and just really focus on, water, or maybe having a smoothie of some kind to get your hydration in at that pre-dawn meal. Now, when you break the fast, that's a completely different story because we've been fasting for several hours and we want to rapidly hydrate, especially if you're playing in a sport where you're competing at night or training at night. So in order to really hydrate quickly, we want to be including those electrolyte powders or drinks at that time to help with that rapid fluid absorption. So when you break the fast, you might be using something like a drip drop, a liquid IV, a Pedialyte to get a lot of electrolyte and sodium to help your body absorb the water and to rehydrate yourself quickly. Another thing to be thinking about is how you're breaking the fast and the types of foods that you're using to break the fast. Especially if you're an athlete who is competing later in the evening or training later in the evening, we need to provide the body with some kind of fuel for that training or competition. So you might remember or recall Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, playing in NBA games during Ramadan, and having to eat something on the sideline in order to like quickly refuel their energy stores. That way they could go out and perform in the second half. The best types of fuel to be eating in this situation is going to be simple carbohydrates. So things like dates, fruit, smoothies, granola bars, really focusing on carbohydrate-based foods because those are going to digest really quickly and also provide the right type of fuel, being carbohydrate, for your game or for your training. And then lastly, there are several supplements that we might want to consider using during Ramadan. Those supplements would include a multivitamin, creatine, and omega-3 or fish oil. The multivitamin is going to ensure that we're covering all our bases from a vitamin and mineral standpoint. It can be really difficult to get everything that you need with just eating 2 meals per day. So we're going to make sure that we have that multivitamin to get all the vitamins and minerals that we might be missing and ensure that there are no deficiencies occurring during the month. Creatine is another supplement that we're probably going to consider for several reasons. One, it's going to help with our strength and power and help to maintain that throughout the month, especially when we're under fueling and probably having to take a little bit off of our training because of the lack of energy. Creatine is also going to help with hydration. So creatine works by having water store it inside the muscle. So from a hydration standpoint, it's going to provide a benefit. And then from a muscle retention standpoint, creatine can help to maintain some muscle mass, especially during a month where, energy, total protein intake might be a little bit low and overall nutrition and training is going to be impacted. And then lastly, you might want to consider taking an omega-3, also known as fish oil supplement, for several reasons. One is going to be, again, just the food quality. It might be very difficult based on the foods that you're eating at the pre-dawn and sunset meal to ensure that you're getting actual sources of omega-3s. Omega-3s are also great anti-inflammatory type supplements. So we want to make sure that we are boosting recovery during this time, especially if you are continuing to train and compete. So having that omega-3 to help with the recovery and decrease inflammation in your body is going to be absolutely beneficial there. And then while it's going to be a small amount, because omega-3 are essential fats is going to help to slow down digestion a little bit. So when you take the omega-3 supplement as part of a meal, it can help just to slow down that digestion by a little bit, which again is going to help prevent some feelings of hunger quickly into your fast. So to kind of wrap everything up, we started with protein intake. If we're able to get our protein total between both meals, ideally about a third of it at that pre-dawn meal and the remaining after we break our fast in the evening, that's going to be ideal. We really want to focus and prioritize on hydration. Again, not really using those high salt electrolyte powders at the pre-dawn meal. We want to focus on providing some quick digesting energy in the form of carbohydrates, ideally simple carbohydrates when we break our fast, especially if you're going to be competing and training in the afternoon. And then we're going to balance it out with potential supplements like creatine, fish oil, a multivitamin, just to kind of cover our bases and ensure that we are fueling and feeling our best and getting the most out of our recovery throughout this month to prevent any kind of muscle decrease or performance decrease. I hope these tips were helpful. Please like and subscribe for more sport nutrition tips.